Hello, and thank you for joining Caterpillar Safety Services monthly webinar titled Steering Growth, Developing Effective Safety Steering Teams. I'm Rachel Proper with Caterpillar Safety Services, and I will facilitate today's event. First, a couple quick announcements. All phone lines are muted, so please submit any questions for our presenter through the Q&A or chat areas of WebEx. We'll use the final 10 to 15 minutes for questions and answers. Also, this event is being recorded. A link to the recording, including the slide presentation and audio, will be posted at safety.cat.com when available. You will receive a follow-up email with a link to that site and recording, as well as an invitation to complete a brief survey. And now I'm honored to introduce today's presenter. Dr. Mike Williamsen is a senior consultant with Caterpillar Safety Services. Mike has more than 25 years of experience in the safety profession and works with organizations in a variety of industries to build employee-driven safety culture excellence. Mike?
Thank you very much, Rachel, and thank you those in the audience. And how's the audio coming through, Rachel?
Sound good.
All right. Safety steering teams is actually one of my favorite topics. Significant improvement is possible if we'll have a consistent leadership and strategy approach to improving safety. So let's take a look at the agenda for today's webinar. Corporate level safety steering teams. We're going to briefly go through the why, the what, the who, the when, and all that kind of stuff, some data that goes with it, and then a wrap-up at the end. There should be time for questions and answers at the end. And so let's get a look at where we're going to go from here. So, safety meeting difficulties. Many of you out there have struggled with safety meetings. I know over the years I have as well. Focus generally has been on injuries and other downstream indicators, stuff that goes on that we really don't want to have delivered. And so we end up with just kind of putting a checks in the regulations box and say we have safety meetings. But when we go into safety meetings, frequently there's agendas from various seats and sides of the table. Often there are way too many people to get anything done. There's discussions on policies and procedures, and that kind of ends with a boring safety meeting that seems to spend 1 or 2 hours. It doesn't accomplish much, and it's the way we've always done it, and it's hard to change that. And as I've worked with organizations globally, almost every one of them has struggled with kind of this list of problems with safety meetings. And it turns out that all the safety meetings frequently are kind of the same, whether they're held at the front line or at a facility level or even at corporate level. We focus in on the downstream stuff we don't want to have happen, as opposed to focusing in on the strategy that's going to get us away from that. And so let's see what we can do to go beyond that. There'll be some case study material here and also some personal experience that goes with that. So why have a corporate level safety steering team? Here's some material from Caterpillar, the host for your webinar today. And back in 2003, a real push by the CEO and the board of directors saying an injury rate of 6+ is just not satisfactory. And so they put quite an effort in it with safety improvement plans, with a Vision Zero that focused in on conditions and regulations and ergonomics, and really huge shift from 6.22 down to basically 1.1 5 years later. And as you look at the chart from there, you can see that there's been a plateau. And organization after organization, as they take care of some of the fundamental issues in safety, find that they can't break through that plateau of hurt and injury rate, kind of like they just don't have the technology to get there. Traditionally, on the right-hand side, you can see level 1, and this is reacting to conditions. These are the regulations approach that's in many developed countries worldwide. Some of our third world and lesser developed countries that Caterpillar deals in don't have regulations, but what they do have is they have the Internet. And the Internet provides a tremendous resource base for focusing in on conditions out there that need to be fixed, kind of the traps in the workplace. That's why we have glasses and gloves and guarding and confined space and the rest of the best practice or regulation-based materials. And that helps you improve, but you're really not to a culture yet. So that takes us to the kind of level 2, and this is reacting to what we see in the workplace, near-miss inspections, JSAs, observation programs, and the like. And so we're reacting to conditions. Now we're reacting to what we see. Things get better, and still another plateau. That takes us to level 3, safety accountabilities, an extremely important step in safety. Here we go to proactive. These are activities hourly and salaried people do on a regular basis to make sure that injuries don't occur. Level 4, a diagnostic that kind of looks between the ears of your people, and they tell you what needs to be fixed and what's working well and some things that they really don't know. And that leads to our level 5, continuous improvement teams, or in the Caterpillar language, rapid improvement workshops. And here we engage hourly and salaried people to resolve the issues of the 4 levels above them. And that after you've done some rapid improvement workshops, you'll find that you'll hit level 6. What's that? That's a passionate leadership to relentlessly pursue no injuries in the workplace. And it comes from hourly and salaried people that have participated in fixing things, and they want to continue to fix them. And first, we kind of have to push them into level 5, get the team started. But once they've had some success, you really develop a culture that says, we're doing whatever it takes to make sure we don't have any more injuries. That's truly where Caterpillar is headed, and that's where our global customers are headed as well, and allows them to break through their plateau. Each organization has kind of their own plateau. Here, Caterpillar plateauing kind of at 1.0 to 1.1. Other organizations plateau at 2 or 3. In any case, they need to go beyond the classical regulations and observation pieces and put in more technology that helps them get better. So let's take a look at some of the other items that go with this. Here, the RIF, the Enterprise RIF, that's the Caterpillar Enterprise, and their plan, the CEO and the board of directors says recordable injury frequency by 2020 will be down to 0.6, or another 4,000 injuries that we can reduce. Caterpillar is an organization that has 150,000 or more employees worldwide, and the first 40,000 is a third of our workforce. By focusing in and getting down to the plateau has made a huge difference. A third of our employees don't go to hospitals or have lost time injuries, and there's still more to go. And obviously guaranteed when we hit 0.6, be another vision that says we got to get lower than that. Our employees are assets. They're important to us. They're part of the family, and we're doing what we can not to injure them. And certainly going beyond looking at injury rates is what it takes to get there. Another slide, Rachel. So here's from one of our global customers, an organization, an aggregate organization. Their chart looks fairly similar. They focused in on unsafe conditions, and then they did one of our programs, START, Supervisor Training and Accountability and Recognition Techniques. That reduced their injury rate as they started implementing accountabilities. They got a new CEO. The CEO focused even more on safety, did a SPS, Safety Perception Survey, ZIP, Zero Incident Performance, continuous improvement trainings, training their own members how to run these teams. And you can see again, a steady decline in injuries that goes with improving your technology and techniques. So what is a safety steering team? Here I'm going to follow one of our typical techniques, which is a POP statement, purpose, outcome, process. And this is a case study from one of our customers, and their purpose, the mini mission statement, is to create a zero-by-choice strategy as well as a safety starts with me attitude. And so they're focusing in on their people making the right decisions not to put themselves in the line of fire or in dangerous circumstances, starting safety with their own commitment and their own attitudes. And so that really focused them on what are they doing well, and they need to keep doing that. And then finding out where their improvement needs were, and this was through the safety perception survey. And obviously, there's some flexibility in there that says a strategy team, like a safety steering team, or even CEO or president says, and I'm interested in this. So we're going to focus in on what we do well. We're going to focus in on where we're not doing as well as we should, and we're going to have some flexibility. Purpose statement for a safety steering team. Let's take a look at outcomes for the same safety steering committee. What do they want? World-class safety culture that eliminates, in this case, all lost time injuries. I had a discussion with them and said, really, I want all injuries. And they said, Mike, if you and your process can help us get to eliminating the lost time injuries, which we have a number every year, then we'll change the statement and we'll go down to eliminating all injuries or incidents. And sure enough, about a 2-year period, they had eliminated all of their injuries. But this, again, is a case study to give you an idea of what does the Safety Steering Committee do. Now, they have purpose, and outcomes are deliverables. And so they want a 2-year roadmap to get them to their zero-by-choice attitude and culture. And frequently I found organizations' safety plans are kind of 6 months to 1 year, and they're focused in on conditions and training programs, not really focused in on strategy. And the safety steering team, their focus and their purpose is to develop a strategy and then follow it through that eliminates the issues in their organization. So they're going to initiate, monitor, and manage an ongoing action plan. They're going to look at safety perception surveys and interviews and data that tells them what they need to work on. And they're going to make charters for these teams that resolve the issues. This also is usually a fairly major step for corporations. Chartering a safety team? Yes. And so the charter says these people are going to work on this project for this amount of time, and they're going to deliver a certain number of items, of processes that help us get better in safety. And they're going to spend some amount of money. And what does that mean? That means that the safety steering team really is chartering. They are enabling. They're paying for. They're making sure that there's a focus in the field and at corporate and a relentless pursuit of no injuries. And that is part of their deliverables. So they charter these teams that have hourly and salaried people, and they fund them, and these teams in turn deliver solutions. So it's not just about accountabilities activities. It's about solutions. They're going to have to train those teams, and then they're going to have to put some support into the teams, evaluating what they're doing, coaching what they're doing, and making sure that they stay on track. Enabling and training and supporting is an important part of a safety steering team. Frequently, organizations have so many things to do, and they've got a production culture that has to get product out the door. We all live in that environment, product or services, and that leads to a tendency to take our eye off of the safety focus. And the safety steering team has major upper-level corporate support that helps keep the focus in on safety as the cycles of production go up and down. So we've done purpose, a mission statement, outcomes, deliverables. Let's look at the process of a safety steering committee.
Mike, real quick before we move on, I just want to let you know your audio is cutting in and out a little bit. So just as a heads up, if you can make sure you're in a good spot for reception, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Is that better now?
We will see. I'll let you know if you keep cutting in and out, okay?
Okay. I understand. Okay.
Thanks.
I'm in a remote location today, and there's some challenges in reception in remote areas. Okay, process. The safety steering team meets every month, and they review the progress, and they support these improvement teams. Monthly. This is also a major shift for organizations. Sure, they have monthly safety meetings, and they may have monthly corporate safety meetings, but this monthly meeting deals with a delivery of a strategy and tactics that are focusing on improving safety as opposed to focusing on reacting to incidents. And there's a tendency to say, well, we don't need to have all these meetings, and the answer is if you aren't consistent in your meetings and consistent in the focus and the pressure to keep going forward, then you'll be inconsistent in the performance in the field. So every month, a review meeting and checking on the progress and providing the support necessary to keep these initiatives moving forward. And those are the continuous improvement teams that, as you can see here, their tagline, "Safety Starts With Me," is where they're focused. And so making sure that the involvement and participation of the employees is ongoing and is delivering the safety culture that doesn't take chances, that does resolve problems, not only on the job, but also off the job. There was an interesting National Safety Council study a couple of years back, and the 2010 data showed that 90% of all fatalities to industrial workers occur off the job, and 70% of the medical cases for industrial employees occur off the job. So a safety strategy and a safety steering team has to include not only on-the-job issues, but off-the-job issues as well. And that's a cultural issue. Do you take what you've learned and continue to use that on and off the job? Their objectives, remember, a 2-year plan. Their first-year objectives to develop safety accountabilities across the organization, and that's presidential level down to hourly employee level. And to develop supervisor skills. Many organizations have found that the level of the professionalism of their supervisors is truly a mission critical. And we promote the best of our hourly employees, and yet we're not providing them the training and development necessary for them to become very strong frontline leaders in safety and production and quality and the like. And so this organization, supervisor development, and then the whole communication area with safety. Frequently organizations' safety communication deal with counting injuries, and that's just not effective enough. We have to have a much better process for safety communication than publishing RIF, recordable injury frequency, and the like. So we've done purpose, outcome, process. Let's see what's next. So what does a corporate safety steering team look like? This is very different from what you might expect at the corporate level. General managers, safety resource, maybe a vice president. Here, no. We're going to make sure that there is frontline experience as we pull together strategy and tactics to eliminate the possibility of injuries. And so this team that has 10 to 12 people on it, focused predominantly at the front line, hourly employees and frontline supervision. The supervisors, on occasion, we have a tough time getting hourly employees. They're concerned about being on a high-level team, and they may be remote, in which case we demand that there's frontline supervisors that have been promoted from out of the ranks and have credibility and experience. And these people really are the group that make sure that we stay practical. You know, as a manager in a cubicle or in an office, I'm removed from the frontline work, and I don't have the same perspective as the people that are doing the jobs day in and day out and have their hands on the tools and are seeing the real dangers and the real culture in the field. And so these teams focus, there's a significant portion of them that are frontline people. And not just frontline people, but frontline people that have an interest in improving and staying focused in on safety. On occasion, we've had firebrands that are going to show management that they don't know anything, and that's not the kind of person you want on the team. You want people that are going to participate in delivering a culture where people don't get injured. It's not a firebrand issue. It's a commitment and a participation and a leadership issue. So we ask for people that have frontline experience and that are committed to improving safety and that will work across the organizations to do so. Middle manager and then a senior level person, a vice president or two, and then, of course, a safety resource is important in there, and frequently we'll have some type of communications person that goes with it, and admin maybe to take notes. These people don't vote, but they participate and they provide input and they document. So you can see here from 10 people, at least half of them frontline experience that keep us focused on track with what the real issues are, where the real risks are. Okay, a real different look at safety steering team. And now we find that as we start initiatives to improve safety, that people aren't comfortable, aren't experienced with the safety culture approach. They've forever been involved with a regulations approach, glasses and gloves and guarding and the like. And so we need to have them trained into what is safety culture and how do you achieve it. So there's some safety models. Those of you that have been a part of this webinar series have seen a portion of our models, what causes injuries, the accident reaction cycle. You saw one, the 6 levels of safety, the 6 criteria. And we go in the training, we go through these models to make sure that the members of this strategic safety steering team understand not only the models, but what's behind them and how they got there and how they apply to their organization. We look at the safety culture data. You'll see it in a couple of slides. That's safety perception survey and the like. And then we explain them how these rapid improvement workshops actually function. And another major shift in safety steering teams that we found that has made a huge difference in their performance, both at the meetings and when they return to the field, is we give them background and knowledge and training in fundamentals in safety. And frequently these overall-level managers and even frontline employees haven't gone in-depth. They just know they have some rules and they have to follow them. But how do you do a good incident investigation? What's a near-miss process and involvement that goes with that? And safety communication, speaking up when you see something that's not right, taking feedback, giving recognition, and this whole effective safety communication piece. Safety accountabilities, job safety analysis, and the like. Safety standouts. And so what we're doing is we're not only staying focused in on the strategic and tactical issues of an organization in safety, we're providing background knowledge to the leaders that are developing the strategy and implementing the tactics. And when they go back to work at the field, there's a lot of discussions about what you met with who and what did you do. And then in a year or two, as they rotate out of the safety steering team and new members come in, they go back with a significant understanding of safety and in-depth reality and experiences that when they return to the field, they're not just the same person that came on the team. They're a safety champion, a knowledgeable resource. And we find that this focus and this drill down to develop our safety steering team members' knowledge and skills returns a great return on the investment when they go back to the field. So there's development work that goes with the safety steering team. It's just not coming together and have meetings. There's development and discussions that get these people, the leaders that are interested in safety, to a point where they truly are champions for safety performance and for culture. Next slide. So, what are we going to do? Well, we've done a resource, we've done an assessment, and what we're looking at then with that assessment, and you'll see that in a couple of slides, what are our priorities? What kind of resources do we have to put on those priorities? What type of actions do they have to do? And, you know, when they deliver a solution and they pilot it and we roll it out, what type of celebrations should we have that keeps the awareness of safety up and inspires people to participate in a culture that stays focused in on the culture, the activities, the personal responsibilities to keep people from getting injured on and off the job. And that then leads to, obviously, a communication plan that folds all this in. So, safety steering team. When? They're one-day meeting each month, and we went through that a couple of slides ago. It's important to do this. You must keep a focus in on safety with your leadership, and it can't be casual. It's got to be focused and committed and consistent and relatively frequent, so once a month. And where do we typically meet? Most often it's at corporate headquarters. Remember, you're bringing in 50% or more of the team from the field. And when they come into the headquarters, there's a whole different culture there and an understanding and a reinforcement of the importance of safety. There's a real different aura at a corporate office than there is at a field location. And this helps bring credibility to the safety steering team. It's important enough that we're going to take you off the job, bring you to corporate, and work on this every month. So that means a flight plan, hotel rooms, in many cases, yes. You know, there are local facilities that don't have that, but you're giving these people work release time too. They're coming off of their job, and you have to plan for that. And if they're remote, it may take 3 days for them to commit this, you know, to do this one-day assignment. And there has to be a commitment to do that. And, well, then what about going out to the field? Then we find that safety steering teams make a difference when they also spend time in the field. There's visible upper management commitment. There's a tour of the facility. There's discussions that go on. And so once a quarter, more or less, the team meets out in the field at one of the locations. And you could say, Mike, this is adding up expense. And true, we're moving people in and out, and we're taking time, and there's an expense that goes with this, but you can't break through the plateau if you don't have a strategy to help you get there. And that strategy requires some amount of resource investment, not at all like building a new facility or major capital work, but really what you're doing is investing human capital in preserving your human capital, the safety of the people in the field, on and off the job. Okay, next slide. So what kind of data do they have? Well, we frequently get incident data. You saw that in the front end slides, RIF, recordable injury frequency, lost time injury frequency, and the like. That's a discussion. We start there. We really got to get beyond it, but that's a reality statement. This is the injury rates that we have. This is our baseline, and there's some that are repetitious. We keep having these kinds of injuries. So there's a guidance that comes from injury data. And then we always have a discussion about what the organization has done for other improvement initiatives, not just safety, but how do they handle the needs to improve their organization. That gives us a pretty good idea what their culture is and what their strengths and weaknesses are with respect to focusing on people working together to solve problems. That's important data. The Safety Perception Survey, and once again, those of you who participated in this have seen that it's a commonly used tool. We use Dan Peterson's Safety Perception Survey. It's just significant amount of material and statistical correlation that goes with that provides a very good focus on what the real issues are and what the strengths of the organization are as well. And then there's field interviews. We frequently go out and talk to people, not asking them yes-no questions, but tell me about your near-miss system. Tell me about incident investigation. Tell me about your boss's safety accountabilities and your own, and training and the like. And from these interviews, we have a very good qualitative approach as to what the safety culture is day in and day out. Not just yes or no, but qualitative data on how accountabilities and incident investigations, confined space and the like are handled. And from this, this type of data gives you really about all you need to focus these safety strategy steering teams on what the real issues are in your organization. Next slide, Rachel. Next slide, Rachel. There we go. Thank you. So, treatment without diagnosis, malpractice. Thank you, Socrates, 2,500 years ago. So let's take a look at what kind of diagnosis we have. Remember, Safety Perception Survey. And we have a survey that has 73 questions. And 73 questions map themselves to 20 safety culture indicators or safety processes. Some of them pretty familiar to you: hazard correction, incident analysis, inspection on the lower left. We've all seen that. And organizations have them. Frequently, though, they have them, but they're not as strong as they should be. These are common, frequent safety processes, but typically they haven't been error-proofed the way production processes have. So with weak inspection processes, we don't really get the results that we should get from investing the time and effort and money to do the inspections. And this is where our safety improvement teams, our rapid improvement workshops, are going to focus. Often we see that incident analysis is high scoring, and yet when we do the interviews, we find out that everybody recognizes we do incident analysis, but we don't really do it well enough to get to root causes, to 5 whys, to action item matrices and the like. And so as the teams come together to discuss these issues, we get far greater depth than just watching a safety movie. And you can see there's other things we work on, the quality of supervision. So sure, we train our supervisors, but how well do they apply what we've trained them? And from a training standpoint, are we doing well enough in safety, or is it just wear your PPE and be careful? How about new employees? They're significantly at risk. And giving recognition for people doing the job well, just a often very low scoring safety culture indicator, because we don't get people feedback for what they do right, or over on the left-hand side, discipline, giving them feedback for what they're doing wrong. And where does management come into this upper right-hand corner, management credibility? You can see from the Safety Perception Survey a tremendous amount of data that has nothing to do, doesn't focus in on downstream indicators. You don't have to have injuries to get this material out, but you really are focused in on what your culture is and what you're going to do about it. And the Safety Steering Committee, this is their data that says we've heard from our people, the voice of the customer, the people in the field and the people at corporate, and now we're going to have to do something about it. You can see there's a focus here that the safety steering team has that goes way beyond reacting to an injury or an incident. Next slide, Rachel. Here's kind of some common data that we get, and you can see reds and yellows and greens, recognition, discipline, hazard correction, management credibility, and the like. So we see a full spectrum, places where hourly and salaried people agree, and on the right-hand side where they disagree, where there's a significant percent difference in the scores, which says these two cultures view this fundamental safety issue differently. And so the safety steering team has this data. Next slide. They also get to look at kind of the 10 worst scoring questions. So remember, there's 20 processes and 73 questions, and they can take a look at what they don't do well at all. The top one there, have you used the safety improvement team to get action on a complaint or hazard? And across the board, the answer is no. Would a safety incentive program cause you to work more safely? And the correct answer to that is no. It's not about money, and we're not answering that correctly. 56 are risks sometimes overlooked in order to get the job done. And across the board, the answer is yeah. So the correct answer is no. And bottom question, promotion to higher level job, does it have anything to do with your good safety performance? Once again, the answer is no. So these are things that a safety steering team would look at, and they'd say, which one of these are going to work on? Wow, there's a lot of information here, and how do we sort down to that? You'll see that as we go through this presentation. Next slide is something that we also showed the Safety Improvement Steering Committee, and this is the top 10 scoring questions. What do we do really well? Every organization we've worked with has got some things that they do well. They have developed a good safety culture in certain areas. Does your organization actively encourage employees to work safely? There's no doubt that this organization does that. Do supervisors have a good knowledge of the safety aspects of their jobs? Absolutely. Does management insist on proper medical attention? Once again, no doubt about this whatsoever. Do you initiate action to correct hazards? So some strong pieces of an organization, some strong cultural aspects. And once again, the Safety Steering Committee has this. And that leads to a discussion about what have we done to have excellent safety culture. And as we put together our rapid improvement workshops, our teams, how can we have them have the same learning so they can not have to reinvent the wheel? Here's some things that when we do it, it makes a difference. And so this goes way beyond looking at injuries, and it's going into the culture, and the Safety Steering Committee takes this into account as they develop their strategies and their priorities and work with their teams to improve their safety culture and their performance. Next slide. So an example of a safety steering team in their 3-year plan, as you looked at it, you could say, wow, there's probably 20, 30, maybe 40 things we could work on. And our guidance is really only wants you to work on the kind of 1 to 3 a year. You have to develop a solution with the team. It takes about a week to pull the team together and develop a solution. And then we have to take care of all the action items, and then we have to do a pilot to make sure that we've got it right, and then we have to do a rollout. And then after that, we have to follow up to make sure that the accountabilities and the actions and the process that we put in place and the training and the auditing that goes with that are actually being used day in and day out. We found that kind of 1 to 3 a year is about all an organization can swallow and do well. So here's an example from one of our customers. Year 1, accountabilities, supervisor development and communication. Year 2, near miss recognition, substance abuse. Year 3, most of us have contractors, and contractors don't have a culture. And they do lead to injuries, not only from a contractor standpoint, but they affect our culture. And from a notoriety standpoint, a press standpoint, a fatality or a major injury or a mistake by your contractors greatly affects your organization. So we must pay attention to contractor safety. Vehicle incidents, more and more cars on the road with more and more distractions, with more and more people not trained as well as they used to be. So what can we do to not have our employees injured when they're on the road, on the job, or off the job? Employee awareness. Give you an idea of who decides this. The safety steering team decides what they're going to work on and when they're going to work on it and why they're going to work on it. And they're responsible for reporting to the president, the CEO, and the board as to what these initiatives are, why they chose them, who's working on them, and what's the progress going forward. Way beyond reacting to an injury, this is a strategic approach to making sure there aren't any injuries. Next slide. So just an example from one of our organizations. Accountabilities, they're mandatory. They're key safety expectations. And accountabilities are not just activities. They're activities that are focused on delivering solutions. And we need our employees to understand what's expected of them, and they're held accountable to deliver those expectations. This isn't punishment. What this is a commitment and a culture of our teams have delivered what it takes not to have injuries, and we have to do that, and we measure it. So one more click here, Rachel. The real issue is that what gets measured is what gets done, and those deal with accountabilities that deliver solutions. And instead of measuring injury rates now, we're measuring accountabilities and solutions that are provided by hourly and salaried people. And the safety steering team drives this. They choose which ones are going to be worked on. They review what the solution is from the team. They review the accountabilities that hourly and vice presidents are to do on a regular basis, and they maintain that commitment and that focus on safety culture excellence that goes beyond injury rates. Next slide. So, kind of a very common phrase, not only in safety but in the world, is that the minimum level of expectation is the maximum level of performance. And the safety steering team is focused in on delivering and developing safety accountabilities that are appropriate, measurable, and meaningful. And what we're doing is we're picking up that minimum level of expectation, and we're moving the bar ever higher, not based on injury rates, but based on activities that eliminate injuries. So instead of focusing on the presence of injuries, we're focusing in on the presence of safety. And the safety steering team is responsible to deliver this and to monitor the teams and to guide the teams and to coach them and to counsel them and to keep them going, to focus in on these level of expectations that eliminate the possibility of injuries. Next slide. So let's take a look at the continuous improvement process that we go through. These will be relatively quick. It's rapid improvement workshop teams. They run for approximately 90 days. The first week is intensive training and solution development, and then the ensuing weeks deal with fixing, doing the action items that come out of this, with doing a pilot work on it, with doing a rollout and the like. And we can generally get to a system that we're ready to pilot in about 90 days, sometimes less, sometimes more, but 90 days is a pretty good average. It goes with them. They have a POP statement. That's how we started this, remember? What's the purpose? What's the outcome? What's the process? They all have action item matrices, and these are the things that we have to do to deliver and develop the solution and to test it. And there's training that goes with it. You saw some of the safety steering team training, near miss, incident investigation, and the like. Well, when we pilot a new process, there's training that goes with that to make sure that people have the knowledge and the skills and the attitudes that go with good performance. 1 to 3 safety processes a year, we discuss that, and then you repeat the process. Okay, we finished that one. It's in place. It's functional. What's next on the list? Remember a couple of slides back. Here's the 3-year strategy of what a company actually did, and see pretty practical in nature, beyond just a safety perception survey, but relentlessly keeping the focus on delivering solutions. Next slide. So, a rapid improvement workshop. Day 1, we give them continuous improvement team training, POP, purpose outcome process, action item matrices, cause and effect diagrams, all the simple tools that are not focused heavily on math, but focus in on participation and people solving problems. The next couple of days, they work on what the real issues are with that particular safety improvement process they're working on. Remember, it could have been incident investigation, could have been contractor safety and the like. And then out there on day 4 or day 5, they present their solution to the safety steering committee. And then there's a give and take on, this is who we are, this is what we've done, this is where we're going, this is the level of participation and support that we need from the corporation. Safety steering team, we need your help in this particular area. And it's a 4 or a 5 day process. It doesn't really make any difference really what country we've been in, what the culture is, what the language is. This is how we run rapid improvement workshops. They've been incredibly successful. Next slide. A picture from one of our Caterpillar facilities. This is a union facility. They are lifting up safety, and they're the in team that worked on a particular issue and delivered a solution, hourly and salaried people, some of them part of a bargaining unit. And in this case, they're all bargaining unit employees. It doesn't make any difference whether it's union or non-union. What we're really doing is bringing our people together to resolve our problems so our people don't get injured. And the safety steering team is an absolute necessity to get this to consistently happen and be rolled across the corporation. Individual facilities have done some good work, but to get this to become the way we do it in the corporation requires kind of that strategic leadership, the whole purpose of this particular webinar. Next slide. So tools used by CI, continuous improvement teams, POP statement, what's wrong, our complaints become goals, cause and effect diagrams, Pareto charts, action item matrices, and the like. These are simple problem-solving tools, and they're extremely effective, and many of them have been used in corporate quality and customer service initiatives. Seldom have they been used in safety. So what we're doing is we're taking proven tools and adding to them, and then using them in an approach that is able to error-proof what we do. And it's steered, it's monitored, it's kept moving by the safety steering team, the corporate steering team that goes with that. But they have a consistent approach they use no matter where it is in the world. Next slide, please. Here's an example of a cause and effect diagram, this one on inspections that aren't done very well. And we've got some people issues and some machinery issues and some materials and methods and environment. And this is a brainstorming tool. Once again, no math whatsoever, but it's engagement, it's brainstorming, it's participation. And each one of these little line items on the cause and effect diagram or fishbone diagram is a complaint. And these complaints become our goals. And so the way we get the steering team and continuous rapid improvement workshops to work is bring the brains of our people together. They look at safety perception survey data, interview data, injury data. They have a discussion, and from that discussion, they say these are our issues. And that then leads to an action item matrix, which is the next slide. And each of these complaints then has an individual line item, next slide please, Rachel, that our people work on. And so there's a task, in this case, develop our process for doing the inspections and make a flow chart out of it. That's line item number 5. There's a team, an individual person that works on it, here in the initials, GM, a time frame, when they're either going to deliver that solution or when they're going to do a report on it, and then a brief comment that goes with that. And so each of these continuous improvement teams, rapid improvement workshop teams, has an action item matrix. There's probably 40 to 80 of these action items that the teams have, and that's what they're working through on their 90-day process, and then beyond that on the pilot, and then beyond that on the corporate rollout. So we keep track of what they're doing, and we turn complaints into goals, and we split those complaints and goals up into individual or team items. So action item matrix, a part of it, and when the safety steering team meets on a monthly basis, they review each of the rapid improvement workshop team's action item matrix, and they go through them. And one of the members from the rapid improvement workshop shows up and does a report out or a briefing as to the progress of the team. Now, the safety steering team, each one of the safety steering team members will be a member of one of these rapid improvement workshops. They not only have to guide the teams and develop strategy, but they have to be a part of the solution. So they understand the process, and they also provide significant leadership involvement, visible upper management commitment, visible hourly participation in a process of nobody gets injured. And that's a part of the safety steering team, and the action item matrix helps us get there. Next slide, please. And so an example of a communication piece. So here's your continuous improvement team. Here's what they've been working on. Here's their names. Here's the various facilities they've been in. And so from our communication standpoint, we are pushing and reinforcing the work done at the field, and we can not only show this at individual facilities, but corporate-wide and to the board of directors as well. Here's our people working on our problems in a strategy to get to zero as close as we can every day. Next slide. So wrap up here. Next slide. Some results from one of our customers. You can see we did a survey in 2010. That's the left-hand column. We did it again in 2011. And then the global database is the tens of thousands of hourly people across the world that have taken it, what their weaknesses are, what's happened, and you can see point change from 2010 to 2011 and the percent change. So these points, what percentage increase has happened. And some of these are still red, but they have made a tremendous improvement, and this comes from the people. These are hourly scores. Our people say, this is the difference that has occurred as a result of our rapid improvement workshops on our problems. Just one of our customers, and you can see the system works. And the safety steering team is a critical part of this operation and these improvements. Next slide, please. Here, another organization, in fact, the one from the slide, you can see the OSHA recordables down significantly, the lost time cases down significantly, the hard cost for respect to safety down significantly. We took a survey, we started our people working on the problems, and we keep doing it. And so some ups and downs, and yet that trend line keeps going down. Next slide. So another organization with how they compare to their industry using the safety steering team, the rapid improvement workshop, the engagement of their people, and their reality. Yeah, we focus in on downstream indicators, but those are just reporting items. The real focus is on what we're doing about the issues that our people tell us we need to work on, from safety perception survey data, from interview data, from stories that we hear in the field, and the safety steering team keeps that focus going and keeps involving our people to solve our problems. Next slide. That should lead to questions. So, I can't, with where I am, I'm going to have you, Rachel, tell me any questions that are out there, and I'll do my best to answer them.
Sure.
It looks like we have 5-6 minutes to answer questions if there's any out there. Rachel, if you'll read them off to me, I'll do my best to answer them.
Absolutely. First of all, I will say, as you can see on the screen right now, we are offering an exclusive webinar offer. We do have a video available called How We Lead, Insights to Build a Stronger Safety Culture. And until November 23rd, we're offering this training video at a 50% discount. If you go to shopcatsafety.com, you can type in the coupon code webinar50 in order to purchase that at 50% off if you choose to do so. As for questions, we did have some come through earlier. Let me get back up to them. Right, we have a question. Is there a benefit or disadvantage to hourly employees participating in meetings as an anonymous member Would anonymity improve candid discussion? Accountable are reluctant to speak up and identify systematic problems because doing so could call out problems in their management.
Okay, this one deals with anonymity of hourly employees, and frequently where we start is absolutely anonymity is something that we respect. It's a need. When we do the safety perception survey, there are no names on it, and so the data we get is anonymous. When we do interviews, there are no names on it. The data we get is anonymous. When we start near-miss systems, the near misses are anonymous. And what we found is that about 9 to 12 months into the process, the fear that says I need to be anonymous disappears. And people say, I can stand up and give you my opinion without worrying about repercussions. And truly that's where we're headed. As long as the organization keeps maturing, you'll find out that the desire and the need for anonymity decreases. And as long as it's there, we honor it. And we'll get some people that say, sure, you can put my name on this. And some people that say, I don't want you to do that. So what we do, voice of the customer. If you need to remain anonymous, the answer is absolutely. If you give us your name, we'd like to show that the people in the field do have issues, and we do address those issues. In fact, we have issues from upper levels of the organization as well. And here's what the CEO is concerned about. One of those that you saw, preventable vehicle incidents, doesn't show up in the safety perception survey, but the CEO said, this is my concern. And so we put a team together on it, made a significant difference, and he wasn't worried about anonymity. And he sent a message that we can work on what our organization believes needs to be worked on, and you can be a visible part of it, or if you need to be an anonymous part, that's okay too. Next question. I hope that answered it. Next question, Rachel.
Right. Another question from someone who's actually done our safety perception survey in June. And he said they're moving towards the next steps, but he's wondering when should they plan to perform the survey again? Is it recommended after 1 or 2 RIWs?
Okay, a good question. The real issue here deals with, has your culture changed? And so if you've taken the safety perception survey and you can see that the culture's different and you're wondering what to do next, then take a survey. That's typically kind of somewhere between 12 and 24 months. You saw one of them there, that the example showed that they did one year 1 and then they did 1 year 2. And you can see also that there definitely had been a change in the culture. So the driver for this is there a perceptible change in our safety culture? And would it benefit us if we took another view at what our people feel needs to be worked on? I don't have a discrete date, but it's more of an understanding. And how do you get that? You talk to your people in the field, and you see what your injury rates are, and you look how well these rapid improvement workshop teams are being implemented in the field. And then you run a survey to reinforce that. Next question.
Next question was that this person did not notice that an EHS leader or manager is actually called out in the structure. Is that specifically by design?
No, not at all. We'll call that an oversight, although I mentioned it, in that there is an EHS leader on these safety steering teams. We need that technical support and the knowledge base that goes with that. So I'll apologize for the oversight. Yes, safety resource there.
Okay. That's all the questions for right now. If anybody else has any others, please feel free to go ahead and submit them through WebEx. If not, it is very close to 11, so I think we're good. Just so everyone knows, as a reminder, we will be sending out a recording of the event as well as just the presentation so that you'll be able to have access to that as soon as it's all available following today's presentation. You'll receive an email notice with that information that the recording's been uploaded, and in that email you'll also be invited to take a brief survey to provide feedback, which we greatly appreciate in order to try to improve moving forward. So if you could take the time to fill that out, we greatly appreciate it. And we definitely appreciate you calling in today and listening to the presentation. Please feel free to take advantage of the How We Lead video that is available for 50% off with the webinar 50 coupon code that you can enter online on shopcatsafety.com. So thank you very much for joining, and look for the follow-up email from us soon.